Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nick Push, and I am in a fucking mood tonight. So, thought it might be a good time to rant and rave a little bit on some of our favorite horror franchises. So tonight I am going to be talking about the most embarrassing thing, in my opinion, of course, from each of most of our favorite horror franchises. So you can see the franchise list over on the side of me, and I'm just going to go beat for beat and tell you guys what I think is the most embarrassing or pathetic or dumb thing that each of these franchises has done. Now, you could make an argument that the fact that all of these franchises, for the most part, are still going on, and that is embarrassing and dumb in and of itself, but we all know why they're still going on. And that's because of money. You know, that's what it's all about. So we know that. But each of these franchises, and to be honest, probably every franchise that's ever gotten past the third or fourth movie, but each of these franchises has made some perplexing decisions. Most of them are creative decisions that I'm listing here, but some of them are just flat out just idiotic. And I want to talk about them. So, like I said, felt like a good time to rant. I haven't done a little rant video in a while. Sometimes it's fun. For me tonight, it might be kind of therapeutic, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me. But let's get the first one right off the bat. Might be, I don't know if it's going to be a controversial one or not. Probably not. But let's talk about Child's Play. What is the most embarrassing thing about this franchise? For me, it is Glenn and Glenda. And as you guys can see, I put some snazzy colors in these in this text just to liven it up a little bit, since it's going to be kind of a downer of a video. But Glenn and Glenda, long before the W word seeped its way into popular culture and seeped its way into Hollywood, Glenn and Glenda appeared. And I'm not here to talk about whether Glenn and Glenda are woke or not, or that decision is woke or not. That's a topic for another day. I am here to talk about just the fact that Chucky had a fucking kid. You know, a serial killer had a kid. Not a serial killer, not just a serial killer. A doll had a kid with another doll. What the fuck are they thinking? Like, the previous movie, they add Tiffany to the mix. Obviously, a great creative decision, both from a marketing standpoint, and it just opened up different avenues that they can take Chucky. You know, after a third and fourth movie, there wasn't too much they could do that, you know, hadn't been done before. Especially, you know, with a fucking little doll like that. So they bring, you know, Jennifer Tilly along, and you got Tiffany. And at the end of that movie, the end of Bride of Chucky, you know, Tiffany's pregnant. That's it. And then Glenn/Glenda come along, and you get all kinds of new hijinks with that. Most of it fucking ridiculous. Seed of Chucky is god-awful. It's right up there with Freddy's Dead for me, as far as, you know, worst movies in the horror franchises. But I just think that decision, I think they jumped the gun on it. Should have had more fun with just Chucky and Tiffany. And I think it was idiotic. You know, there's really only one thing you can say about a decision like this.
Stupid.
Yep, agreed. Okay, let's get to my favorite franchise. And I know a lot of people that watch my channel, your favorite franchise as well. But for this one, this was actually easy for me. I'm kidding, it's not Corey Cunningham, believe it or not. I know it might be for a lot of you, but for me, the most embarrassing part of this franchise is all the goddamn timelines. It is literally embarrassing to be a hardcore Halloween fan and try to explain the timelines to someone that's not, you know, a hardcore Halloween fan, or they're not a horror fan or whatever. There's like 5 different timelines. You got the Rob Zombie one, okay? You got Halloween 3, okay? But then in our Michael Myers, you know, our original Michael Myers timeline, there's more. You know, you got Halloween 1 and 2 through 6, right? Skipping 3. You got 1, 2 in the H2O timeline. You got this new timeline. Fucking embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Like I said, there's no excuse for it. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Stupid.
Yep, agreed. Okay, let's get to Friday the 13th. For this one, I went with the final in multiple titles. So we got the final chapter, which was Friday the 13th, Part 4. There are, 12 movies, mind you. And then not only do they come out with a movie later after that, a year later, but then they do the same fucking thing again with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. For a franchise that's pretty solid, I know there's a lot of clunkers in there. There's a lot of clunkers in all these fucking franchises. But for a franchise that is pretty damn solid, something stupid like having final, they didn't learn their lesson with the final chapter. They went again with the final Friday. And guys, that is just
stupid.
Yep. All right, let's move on to A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger's franchise. This is cartoon Freddy for me. And no, I am not talking about when Freddy actually becomes a cartoon in Freddy's Dead, or when he's in a comic book in Dream Child. I'm talking about the fact that Freddy becomes, just a joke, a cartoon, a Looney Tune. Obviously you guys have heard me talk about this before, but Freddy's scary in the first couple movies. Everyone knows in part 3, that's when the one-liners really started happening. Part 4, still pretty decent, but he's starting to go over the edge, and then he goes over the edge and he becomes nothing more of a joke in his own franchise. He is not scary anymore. He is a goddamn fucking joke. They took it way too far. If they'd have stopped at, the tone of Freddy in part 4, I think we could stomach it. But what they did was just
stupid.
Yep. All right, let's get to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A lot of movies in this franchise as well. For me, the most embarrassing or pathetic or dumb decision made in this was they for the most part, got rid of Leatherface's family in a lot of the sequels. If you watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from, is it 74? I think it's 74. But if you watch that, Leatherface, he's the main attraction. When you think of that movie, you think of him swinging that chainsaw around. You think of him, closing that metal door. You think of that. But he's probably not the most scary person in his own goddamn family. I mean, that dinner scene is ridiculous. Leatherface might be the most intimidating, but the family plays such a huge role in that. And, I'm not the biggest Texas Chainsaw fan. Like, I don't watch every single movie, each year like I do with some of these other franchises. But in a lot of these sequels, the family aspect is not there. And I think they missed a great opportunity to have the family really be another horrific part of this franchise. And for me, that's just
stupid.
I'm having fun here, guys. I'm having fun. My mood is already starting to change a little bit. But it could get worse here with some of these other ones. So let's see. Let's talk about Scream. For me, Scream, it's embarrassing that they didn't take any risks after killing Randy in part 2. Obviously, we know they killed Randy in about the middle, probably middle-ish of Scream 2, right? And after that, everyone we cared about was safe. Everyone. Up until Dewey in part 5. Spoiler. And then even in part 6, we know what happened in part 6. Every single fucking character had plot armor. We don't even need to talk about Chad. But I just think it's embarrassing that they just refuse to take any risks. They should have killed off some characters we cared about. Whether it was Dewey earlier or whether it was Gale. Gale had a great chance to have a great death scene in Scream 6. They blew it. Now they're probably going to kill her off in another movie and she's not going to have as great of a scene. Why? Because they're scared to take risks. And for me, that's just
stupid.
I'm having so much fun with this. All right, let's get to Jaws. Most embarrassing thing about this franchise, there's only 4 movies in this franchise, remember. First one's one of the greatest movies of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time. Second one is fucking fantastic. Then we get the one in SeaWorld. A lot of people don't like that one. A lot of horrible 3D effects. But for me, there's nothing more embarrassing than the Bahama shark. Yes, a shark. The creative decision to have a shark start killing off the Brodies and then follow Ellen Brody from Amity, which is in the Northeast, all the way down to the Bahamas. It follows her somehow. Not in her boat. She flies down there. How can you think we're that fucking stupid to believe that would happen? I understand you have to take certain liberties in some of these franchises. Most of these franchises, all these franchises, you have to take liberties, right? You know, even as a viewer, you have to suspend your disbelief a lot of times. But what the fuck, man? Just so
Stupid.
Yeah, I can't even laugh at that because that's true. All right, couple more, guys. Hellraiser franchise, for me, they did the remake way too late. And what I mean by that, I just think it was so dumb of them, so embarrassing, that they didn't see the writing on the wall in this franchise. I'm a big fan of the first one. I'm a very big fan of the second one. I love Hellraiser 2. Third one, it kind of goes off the rails. It's more about Pinhead, which obviously it should have been. You know, Pinhead is the brand at that point. But then they just started going straight to video. Straight to video, straight to video, straight to video. Why not remake it earlier? And I know, you know, they just did the remake. Was it earlier this year or last year? I can't remember. But they just did the remake, and I'm actually a fan of the remake. I liked what they did in the Hellraiser remake that came out on Hulu. But they should have done this earlier, especially during the remake craze of, was it the mid-2000s, late 2000s? I think it was just so dumb of them to not take advantage of that and start remaking the franchise sooner. Then you could have remade it when Doug Bradley still could have done it, right? That would have made a lot of fans happy. But instead, they were just
Stupid.
And finally, let's talk about Saw. Before I talk about Saw, guys, make sure you comment any answers you have below on anything in these franchises you think are embarrassing. And feel free to add some other franchises too. I just grabbed a chunk of franchises that I could think off the top of my head have horribly embarrassing moments, and they're franchises that I, for the most part, enjoy. So make sure you comment any franchises down below that you guys want to talk about or vent about. Maybe you're in a mood to. So tell me some embarrassing moments from them. But let's talk about Saw. For me, it is just turned into torture porn. And I get it. It became all about the traps, right? And all these franchises, eventually it becomes what it's known for, and then they double down and double down and double down. And before you know, they're off the rails, right? But for Saw, the first one actually had a really good story. I enjoyed that story. Second one, I didn't mind either. That needle scene just gives me the willies. But it just turned into torture porn with almost no fucking story after that. You couldn't write a story. You couldn't give me something interesting in addition to some of these traps. I mean, that is just
Stupid.
All right. So that's my list, guys. Like I said, I just needed to vent a little bit because I was in a mood, and I feel better. So if you're watching this, I want to thank you for letting me vent. That is why I started this YouTube channel. I appreciate it. It's fun to talk about ridiculous shit like this. It's already making me feel better. I can go to bed and be happy that I got this shit off my chest. So comment down below your guys' answers, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time.